I love it. Recording in progress.
Okay, so it's Alexander Lawrence, the Portable Infinite, and I'm trying. My object is to interview the 100 most interesting people in the world. So,
Oh, bad start. Bad start, Alex.
so here, well, no, I'm gonna. It's 100 people. Who cares? Like it's all subjective, isn't it? And we were talking to Budgie today. He wrote a book called The Absence: Memoirs of a Dada Drummer. No, a bunch of a uh, of a Banshee
That's where
drummer.
the title came from. Memoirs of a Dada
And
Drummer.
that's a really good picture. Where does that come from?
That's oh, what's his name? It came from about the time we did the session for
Cor
Peep
Cor
Show.
Corbin. No,
It's
not
not Anton, no, it's John. Oh, it's not even John Hillcoat. He's a video director. Hold on. I have one right here. I should have one right
uh,
here. It's right
oh
there.
John Stoddard.
John Stoddard.
Yeah.
I remembered this photograph and I thought, how am I going to get hold of him? I didn't know where he was. I only just remembered his name. So I went to the website. You know, you go to somebody's website and they have this little contact me and you click on it and you write them a message and you never hear anything. John came back to me like within the hour and said, I remember that session. You look pretty good. Yeah, of course I remember it. I'm going, oh, his roots are the same as mine. He's up near Liverpool.
He's a northerner. So
He's
so
a northerner,
so
but he went
so
to Hollywood.
so there's a lot of I mean, I think I remember reading a Banshees book from the 90s. There's been about two or three books out there. A lot of them are out of print. I mean, what do you think of the books that are kind of? I mean, people, it's hard to find unless you want to spend
Oh,
$100 on eBay or
the
something.
only ones I'm familiar with, the one I like is Ray Stevenson's photographic books, like the Tours of America, the first, everybody on the bus tour. Yeah, and then of course there's the authorized biography, which I took some quotes from
Okay.
because I wanted to kind of get somebody's their own voice in there as well, but also to set a kind of mood, if you like, or how things could be. Nothing to do with anything that happened in my active duty, if you like. But so that was the authorized biography. It was a kind of lots of interviews put together, and it sort of reads that way. But it's still
Yeah.
like it's a good kind of chronological, sort of riff through Banshees start to finish. Actually, yeah,
Yeah, sometimes those books are good because they give you like a map or like a timeline and stuff. But how
yeah.
this book is a little bit different. I mean, we don't really get to the Banshees until like 100 pages in. It's more like Mickey Berendi's memoir where she's talking about her family, or she had an interesting family, where Japanese mother, Hungarian
Uh,
father, and she went to school uh, and
she went to school.
and she never really was doing music until she got into Lush and stuff. So I mean, this book, I mean, it's not really. It differs a little bit from the some of the official biographies that are out there because it's mostly like filtered through your mind. It's kind of it takes. It's not really like, oh yeah, this happened. It's just kind of, here's
That's
Budgie.
me.
It's Budgie, and how did he remember it? And like it kind of, the
It,
book kind of takes place in your mind, and it kind of seems like it's filtered through your mind and all that. Can you comment on that a little bit?
yeah, I think it's a good you mentioned Mickey Berendi. I read her book. I was just I couldn't put it down. It was so wrenching. And as you say, it's a lot to do with the things that happened to her before she found a solace in music. As you say, it saved her life, or maybe a lack of success saved her life. And I also loved and had it with me all the time, and it's still here, of course. Viv Albertine, my the guitarist in the Slits, who I joined with before the Banshees, who I never knew them well because you don't at that age, but I met her on that book tour, and again, her book is the Slits take up a small slither of that book. There's a lot of Sid Vicious and the other guys in the Pistols and the Clash, all of whom I landed in the midst of when I went to London from Liverpool. So I wanted it. I knew what I didn't want, which was a kind of mudslinging match of who did what to whom, um, and this album was horrible, and that one was really great, and the tour was really. Thus, and it ended up in some kind of bickering over money in the end, and I'm not saying mine is it's not a bedtime story, but like in the best Banshee way, the humor can be dark, and the story, whew, well, starting the prologue the way the first thing you read, as you say, is the night my mum died, and really, if that's my starting off point, because it turned my life upside down, ripped it apart, the whole family. And I don't know if we ever really came to terms with it. I've done my best to answer my questions. I met my sister just the other weekend, and I said, "We've never spoken about it." And she said, "No, we never did. Um, Too raw, too painful, and we didn't have the language. We didn't know what it was never spoken about. Like my dad never mentioned the war, you know, little kid, Daddy, what's that mark on your back? And then just kind of get me a towel.
So I mean, like your books, like Mickey. I mean, the family's really important. I mean, my dad died when I was like 16, and
Yeah.
I kind of, I mean, I had kind of a spiritual crisis, and then I kind of lost, myself, and kind of got into books, and there was a couple years where I kind of had to get it together, and music
Yeah.
and reading, and I eventually went to college and became an English major and stuff, and kind of found myself a bit, like kind of like landed. And this book, I mean, you kind of maybe if your mother didn't die so soon, I mean, maybe you wouldn't have got into music so much, because like you became kind of a immediate like latchkey kid or something in a way.
Yeah, there was no home, there was no center. Straight, that was it. Nothing mattered. It didn't seem to occur to me that there might be some danger out there. All I knew was I was in a small town, nothing wrong with that. But I thought there must, I'm off. I was kind of, it kind of expelled me from the quietness of our little street. Would my mum have agreed? Would she have encouraged me? My sister says no. I feel no. I certainly wouldn't have been out with that little band Chuck and the Young Ones till 2 a.m. on a Saturday night, traveling in a probably stolen van, certainly not a legal van, up to Liverpool and coming home with money in our pockets. It was kind of woo. And we were hanging out in drinking clubs. And we were all 13 and well underage. But it was, we're inspired by the Osmonds, probably.
Or something, or some alcohol or something. But so, I mean, in this book we have, I mean, you also kind of went to art school, and in this book we have like some self
Ah,
some
yes.
drawings and self portraits. Do you think, if you wouldn't have done music, would you still went to art school? You think, or and did some art?
I went to art school to find a drum seat.
Okay.
I saw one through a window in the door. It was deaf school with a house band in Liverpool Polytechnic in 1976. And I never did oust Tim Whitaker from his drums. God bless Tim. He ended up playing with, of all people, Echo and the Bunnymen as well. He sat him, I think, after Peter Freitas left us. But I didn't want to steal Tim's drum seat. I ended up playing in London with probably every other member of Deaf School, which kind of was my um, vision, if you like. But once I'd got to Liverpool Art College, I was like in the kind of drawing room, the life room. Um, And I just can. That's what I did. I went in the morning. I worked until it went dark, and then I usually probably went out drinking if I could afford it. But I was really serious about that, thinking, okay. But once I'd found some guys knocked on my door and said, we're going to be in a band that's opening for Siouxsie and the Banshees tomorrow night at Eric's in Liverpool. I went, no, you got the wrong guy. You know, I, and they said, no, no, you play drums. No, I'm going to be a painter. No, no, no. You're coming with us. I was hijacked into the world of punk.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, so yeah, I'm friends with Severin on Facebook. I don't know why that is. We just I guess I he added me. But so I think a couple months ago he was kind of shocked that he's like saying something like, "Oh, Susie's playing live. John McKay's did a record. Kenny Morris is doing artwork and on talking to John Robb, and now Budgie is doing Lowell Tolhurst and there was like nothing happening for 20 years. Now everybody's now, and then
We were all in cahoots. We all went, okay, are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, let's do it now. Collective. No, we didn't. No,
and
I,
yeah,
I
I think
um,
Severn also he kind of talked about that Barry Manilow wanker thing. What was that? I don't know if I fully understand that thing.
oh, you have to read the book to find that one,
No,
I think.
no, well, that was like a put down or something. Like Susie said about
Well,
you.
yeah, I mean, nothing against Barry, but
Um,
it was, I think I liken it to Susie's way with, uh, putting you down with a kind of a chuckle of a laugh that's, it's taking the piss, as we say in the old British pub. Um, it's yeah, it was a. I mean, there are incidents though where they're just like relationship kind of bust ups, those kind of things. And yes, okay, if I'd stepped out of line, it wasn't like I don't know. I mean, maybe you don't sort of say, well, at least it wasn't that, or at least it wasn't this. It was what it was. Probably deserved every um, Sharpie squiggle of it, written with a dagger, I presume.
and are you surprised that Severin's like kind of shocked that there's a lot of activity like in the last 2 or 3 years?
Well, it kind of didn't surprise me when I saw John Mackay, putting a band together, and I saw John at Rough Trade in London when I was doing the book signing there that evening, and with Mickey, and I just put my arms around John, and his whole band was there. It was quite emotional, just because we'd only met once before, and that was when he and his now departed wife. She's no longer with us, Linda, and it was just a kind of so many loose ends coming together at different points in the life of the Banshees that I'd met Linda before I'd met John, or Susie or Severin. She was host. There was a house up in West London, and I met Steve Strange there, and I met Marco Peroni before he was with the Ants, and they were just all hanging out at this place where I ended up at, and because Barbara, whose house it was, drove the Sex Pistols around, and so she knew the Ariana, and Ariana's friend Nina Hagen would pop over every now and then when she was in London. This was quite a meeting place that nobody knew about. And certainly we didn't know we were meeting anybody who was going to be anything special. Maybe Steve Strange. I think we knew that Steve was a bit different.
So is this book I mean why did you come to write this book? Is it kind of a product of the COVID era, staying home, or you were thinking about this for a couple of years, or I
I was writing. There was certainly, if you like, my probably my last drinking session is the first thing I wrote in many ways. I'd written little bits for the creatures when we had the forum online, and we had a thing called a gift horse, and it was like a little fanzine thing we put out. So I used to love writing, yeah, just like playlists or favorite moments, album anecdotes, things like that, conversation. But I'd written this piece that was like really kind of what I call it, my black hole of Calcutta, and it's a chapter later on in the book, um, where for the first time I suffered the consequences of like 2 days drinking in probably in I think it would be Mexico City. So I really was, under the volcano and feeling like uh, Albert Finney in the film of the same name. I even got a copy of the book so I could actually read the script. But it was where the walls were shaking that night, and I thought, this is it. There was noises and lights and then I just apologized to everybody the next day, but nobody really wanted to hear that. Nobody except our guitarist Knox, who's still a good friend, who just said, it doesn't have to be like this. And I said, well, maybe I need to stop. And that was a big turning point, but it was also kind of the end of the band that we knew. So I started with that, and I had it all typeset. And I thought, this is how my book is going to look. But that was 15, 20 years ago. It was a long time ago. I mean, we're talking 95 when the band stopped. So yeah, it's 30 years ago. And I then wrote the prologue the night my mum died. So I knew where I was going, and I knew where I wanted, what it started for me, where whatever I had in mind just suddenly lost all anchor. So it's been a lot of little bits and then a lot of intense kind of looking at things. And that also, it's an amalgamation of many, you know, um, moments rather than me going, and then this happened, and then that, and this, and then there's another one, and another time. Like, I'd rather condense similar moments to make one powerful moment. And in that sense, it's not exactly this is this is what happened then. It's more like this is a culmination of many moments, and this is how it felt.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned under the volcano. I guess it's okay. Drinking's okay if, as long as you're not drinking the aftershave, it's like, that you get to that point.
Yeah, or that Spanish thing that's orange and in a bottle, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
last three Christmases, nobody wants to touch it, and I did.
So, I mean, some of my memories I mean, I used to hear, I Susan and the Banshees. I mean, like, I saw you guys at the Whiskey. You played like 3 nights at the Whiskey in '80. You came back in '84 at the Santa Monica Civic. Of course, you played
Yeah,
with the Gun Club.
I see the T-shirt. You were there
And yeah,
last time.
the funny thing is, like, Gun Club was never that popular in LA. They were more popular in Europe and New York and the East Coast. But I talked to Gary Tovar of Golden Voice, and he said that Siouxsie and the Banshees wanted Gun Club to open up because I think
Yeah,
the other band was a Test Department. I think that's who you were touring with, and I saw you on the 7 Year Itch tour. Didn't enjoy that as much. My friends loved it though because they had never seen you before. So
yeah, 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 yeah,
I kind of got I kind of enjoyed some of the end of part, and then of course I saw Tolhurst and Budgie at Cruel World, and I saw you play a second time, and then
yeah.
I saw Creatures at the Sunset House of Blues. And I think I might have seen you a Creatures a second time in New York, but I can't. I'd have to
Yeah,
I'd have to look it up. So I mean, I've seen all the different bands, and then I mean, you played with. I mean, I didn't mention all the bands, but you played with Big in Japan, Spitfire Boys. You played with John Grant for a while.
yeah. John Grant was more recent, and with John, it's where I met a lot of people. Bobby Gillespie, who I've known known and drank with for a long time, but never remember any of it because we had such a good night. And so on the tour with John, of course, I was just the drummer in the band, and a lot of people didn't know I was going to be there. And I met up with James Murphy from LCD Sound System. I knew the bass player then. Oh, what is his name? I'm not even going to try names because I keep
Yeah.
forgetting them. Taylor and some other people in the band who were living in Berlin. So I met up with James. I think Flea was there with the Chili Peppers. This was like in Scotland, just what's it called? Tea in the Park,
Right.
and it moved location. Chad Smith was running around. The Chili Peppers came off stage, all in a separate Range Rover. I remember that because they nearly killed me because I got lost in the roadway leading back from the stage somewhere. And thanks, guys. Um,
Yeah.
it's things like that where I've met a lot of people, but had the kind of presence of mind and the no, what's the word? When you're doing nothing else except you've got to be on stage at a certain time and do your thing. When you're kind of carrying the weight of the band around with you and the responsibilities as well and all the other aspects of being on the road, you don't get that much time to do that. Well, I certainly didn't anyway. Probably had other bars to visit.
Yeah. I saw you. Some picture. The guy, the drummer of the Chameleons, just posted a picture of you on Instagram, and he's
That was in Poland, just the
yeah,
other
yeah.
night in
I
Poland.
think there's three pictures though. There's like three different eras and stuff.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, but
I just spent a night with Gavin Friday, a day with Gavin.
yeah,
We were over at this festival in Lodz, the
yeah, yeah,
sound edit.
yeah. That was when was it? That was the summer and
It was 3 nights ago.
oh,
I got back. I went over on Friday, and it would continue to Saturday. But I had to get back, so I literally took a train to Warsaw, just down the street from here, about 4 hours away. Um, and just had just an intense 24 hours, and saw Gavin's set based on his new album. And it's such a powerful set of music. Ah,
so,
it's wonderful.
so let me mention it. It's The Absence by Budgie. It came out in July. You did sort of a book tour. There's um there's going to be some talks coming up in England and London. And
We're doing another tour, yeah. Yeah, we're doing
are
a tour in
are you gonna
November.
are you gonna ever come to America and do some book signings and stuff?
That's what this is about, I
Okay,
suppose.
so those will be announced. Those dates haven't been announced yet, but they will.
No, the book was only published just a few days ago, the
Yeah,
17th, as far
right,
as I
right.
know.
Yeah, I just got this copy a couple like in October, so maybe October 6th or something. Yes.
Right.
So, so let me mention some uh, favorite moments. I mean, I saw. I mean, I think. I mean, you listen. I was listening to the Susie and the Banshees, the singles, and I feel like Spellbound is kind of like a step up, and it's because if you listen to the singles, like Susie's kind of the same. Maybe I don't not that as familiar with the '90s stuff. Just a couple singles here and there, and then Severin's kind of the same, kind of that rolling bass.
Mm.
But the time you get to Spellbound, it's really kind of jumped up a notch. It's like Mikiak, memorable guitar line, and then the drums are more complex. And then what happened if you could remember, like what happened when halfway through the song, and then you go, well, what are we gonna do here? Okay, I'm gonna do a drum solo, bump, 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 bump. What did Severin look at you go? What did he say? Like, oh, I'm gonna be doing a drum bit here.
I
The song stops and it's just me and stuff. It's like,
No, I remember doing it because it was in the early Polydor and off of Oxford Street, when record companies had big buildings in the middle of big cities. So they had like Stratford Place, I think it was, and I remember seeing that Polydor record, Stratford Place, and they had their own studio in the basement, and I mean I say basement, it's huge, and a German engineer in a white lab coat. We did a lot of those early songs demoed first, and so they were quite. They weren't like popping in for a few hours at a weekend as we end up doing B-sides and stuff. They were kind of let's really like not just get a song into shape, but what can it take us sonically as well. I remember the drums, throw them down the stairs is the line, and the drum
Oh,
staircase that is
yeah.
in this big old stone buildings that you see on Oxford Street in London, enormous inside, volumes of air. And so we had the drum kit set up in the stairwell, and as that line came round, gung 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 gung, yeah. And it was demoed, so it was like there for to listen to way before we got into where did we record it down in Surrey Sound with Nigel Gray.
But they were all okay with it. Like, oh, I'm gonna do a drum solo here. Like,
Well, they never said anything. They never came over and said, "Oh, Budgie, could you just tone those drums down a bit? Because I've got something I want to put in there too." No, it was similar to, well, what was it similar to? I don't know. Whatever fitted. I do remember the middle break in Israel, the song Israel, where we kind of rolled round. Um, there was a Welsh choir comes in on the recording, but we were in a television studio in Birmingham in England, and we'd only just written the song, and we thought it was coming up on Christmas, so it was ideal time to give it its first public airing. So we played it live, but we hadn't got a middle section, and I don't think we did write it beyond the drum break again. Do, 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 and it goes, oh, do, 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 boom, do, do, boom, do, do, boom, 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 do, do, boom. There's that kind of just ambles round, and the drums pick up, and the choir gets bigger. But the drum beat is lifted from No Self Control from Peter Gabriel's album, which is Jerry Marotta, who played on the Indigo Girls album, who I kind of supported on the same album. So there you go. Be careful who you borrow from.
yeah, people don't know. I mean, people were borrowing all the time from disco records, but not.
We borrowed from Kraftwerk. I did anyway. It was like, I mean, there was a. This is on Autobahn. And I loved that beat so much. I just lifted it and put it on the Creatures Boomerang album. Solar Choir. It's a track that only comes on the CD, I think, extra track. But it was like when drum machines started to kind of really get into the way in a way, we used them to write with. And like if Severin and Siouxsie were doing demos for Kaleidoscope before I joined, I can see it behind you as well. Kaleidoscope in all its glory. Um, so a lot of the songs were written with Roland Compia rhythm.
Well, what about Robert Smith? In the book, he kind of compared him to Dave Navarro. Was there kind of a flirtation with Robert Smith and Siouxsie, and it kind of seemed like reading the book, like you kind of jumped in there and Robert Smith like lost his opportunity or something. Is that
Oh,
was that what you're trying to convey there, or was that?
yeah, as me and Robert kind of getting. "Oh, I was here first. No, you weren't. Sod off. Yeah, from Crawley. Yeah, from Liverpool. No, it was. I just think it's the way that Siouxsie just commanded her position within the man's world that was, spinning around her. Um, I think Dave Navarro was is a kind of from a different planet anyway, So there's no rules. I don't think where Dave comes into things. With me and Robert, it was. I mean, it was a joy to be there. It was just we just went in and jammed, and what became songs. We didn't have much written, but we'd never played together before. Whereas Severin and Robert had been just finished the Glove album, and so they'd spent a lot of time on that album. Um, and I think Susie and I had just done Feast. It all sounds crazy that we could have done like two solo albums at that point and then go into the studio and try and write in the studio the next Banshees album. But that's what we did. And so when Robert wasn't playing guitar much. He'd sit at either the piano or an organ. And we wrote Take Me Back. Let me think. Swimming Horses was just a kind of pieces that we kept jamming around, and then they were edited together, and then we played them. Dazzle was, I think I had the guitar line for Dazzle, and then Robert took it over and embellished and took it somewhere else. That kind of dong, 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 dong. And then Robert kind of did the guitar thing. And then, of course, there's Dear Prudence, where Robert was in the middle of this huge studio, Angel Studios in North London, with his sister, who is a pianist, I think. And the pair of them on a little tiny harpsichord doing the intro to Dear Prudence, which was, I have these things in the front, right there, like a picture.
Yeah. So yeah, God, I'm blanking out here. So okay, so here's the book again. It's definitely going to be like one of the top books on the
What you were saying was there a love triangle going on? No, there was a love polygon. Absolutely. A
so
polygon. That was me,
uh,
actually. The
well,
polygon.
well, I ask a lot of people. I mean, you guys. I mean, from the interviews I've seen you talk about in the and reading the book. I mean, does this Banshees and the Creatures have their own publishing? Do they own all their publishing, or because
Whoa, it's a good
because like
question.
like bands, I mean, you seem like, oh, I haven't talked to Severin in 20 years. It's like, well, it seems like most bands are, and the I mean, the Siouxsie, I mean, it hasn't really had like a definitive. A lot of bands would come out with a documentary or books like this, and then you'd have to talk about like reissues. And I mean, I know, I mean, Geffen, and I'm not sure what Polydor is doing lately, but
No, nothing with us. I mean, Polydor is still there as an entity, but it's all Universal Music. Geffen was separate. I think it still is. It's probably all Universal now anyway. Um, it's one of those things that I didn't go anywhere near in the book. You know,
yeah,
the finances, it's just suffice to say that whatever Susie and the Banshees made financially was usually reinvested. There wasn't a lot of money like slushing around outside of the actual organization of the of day to day and month to month. We were always on tour, and even then, I think we were funding the show, by touring, by keeping our tour manager, who then became the band manager. So he had two hats on. So he was obviously benefiting from his old job as tour manager, and then the new income from being band manager as well. So uh, we got we three of us invested in London, a flat, an apartment in London, and it was around the time that if you got something 1 year, in 3 years it would doubled in price. It was that booming property market in London at that point. And then, of course, I think Susie and I left in 91. And, whatever you'd put into the property market in London, say, once you've left it, you'd never get back in again because it carried on moving without. It's like speeding boat or ship or car or whatever it might be. Um, Inevitably, invariably, I think, as the saying goes, once you really stop putting new stuff out there and you're relying on what we call like the residual income, the income that kind of comes back, then it just goes up and down like fashion trends. So if you get a lucky break like Netflix or then income can jump. But otherwise, it's kind of supported, I suppose. I imagine we've all been supported okay, but nobody's really like beyond touching with wealth and riches. It's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's.
Yeah, it was
I
kind of.
think
Oh, go ahead.
no, I nothing really anything to add to that.
Well, it was kind of a trip, like hearing the Super Bowl and the weekend, and they did the sample
Oh
of Happy
yeah,
House, and I guess
yeah.
that was kind of like your most mainstream moment, maybe.
Well, that and any of the films that the
Yeah,
music's been in as well.
yeah,
But you think, it's a bit like when you're like starting off, and we were on top of the pops, the TV program to be on, with a new single, a new piece of music, and as soon as like the hometown crowd, wherever you came from, saw like you're on the television, that's it. Yeah, you're rubbing shoulders with whoever is rich at the time, who could be poor the next day. It really is. It's you. I think now looking back, we never really paid much attention. I mean, probably the demise if of everything is if you pay too much attention to that aspect of being in a group. I think you might lose the. I don't know if you lose it, but I was more interested in taking advantage of not having to do anything else for all those years. Just turn up, get to the studio, get yourself ready for the tour. But when you're in the studio, it was like, how can we make this special? What can we do to keep the interest for us and keep it sort of creative? Just that, really.
Yeah, Siouxsie never really. Oh, let's have like a hit producer come in here. Let's have some songwriters come in and
Mm-mm.
produce the big hit that puts them over the edge or something. And that never really happened. I mean, besides the stuff you did on your own. I mean, out of the punk groups, I mean, only really the people that were on top of the pops were like the Stranglers, Siouxsie, and I'm missing the other ones. I mean,
The Jam.
yeah, the Jam and stuff. A lot of those bands didn't really, and then later came Madness and the Specials and a whole new scene. But a lot of the original bands didn't really. I mean, they were broken up within 2 or 3 years, or like Wire, they got dropped from the label, and
Yeah, why you never saw Wire on top of the pops? I don't think.
no,
I
they
don't think.
never. No, they had one single that almost made it, and then it got deleted because of hype. Like
Hmm.
they got caught buying copies or something. Well, I think we're coming. We got like little time here. Everyone, go buy this book, and when he comes to America, go see him at the readings and check it out. This is a great book.
We'll let you know when the tour comes up
Yeah,
in
I'll repeat it. Yeah, and
October, somewhere around probably late November, or maybe it'll be next year now because it's kind of rushing towards. We're almost at Thanksgiving again, aren't
okay.
we?
Well, I'll come out of my coffin, and you can come out of your coffin, and we both got the red curtains to. We'll,
We'll be draped and wrapped in red curtains,
I'll make sure
and
there's some red curtains at the reading. And okay, thanks for talking to me. Let me stop.